Welcome back. It's Papers time. Let's bring you up to date, shall we? And on the front page of the Eye, Hunt vows to make schools safe at any cost. But the Treasury say the government shouldn't expect new money anytime soon.
So how's it going to do that? OK, councils allow staff to work from the beach. Front page of the Daily Mail. OK, this is the number of local authority employees log on to their day jobs from sunny destinations is on the up. It's into its hundreds. I think 708 or so jobs you can get with your local council, but you can work from anywhere abroad. Independent, that'd be very nice. Independent leads with thousands of babies facing hospitalisation. Life-threatening virus this winter as the government delays a vaccine.
In the Telegraph this morning, the Prime Minister will cave in, overturning the ban on onshore wind farms to starve off a rebellion. Well, joining us to go through the papers in more detail this morning is Olympian Chris Akabusi and former editor of the Daily Star, Dawn Neeson.
So what does that mean? They're going to ban onshore wind farms, is that right?
Well, I've only just delved into it, but yeah, apparently he's going to face a rebellion from within his party about the onshore wind farms, and the opposition are also poised to joining in. Really, it's everyone's back to work, and we are ramping up to the election, and you can see right now that the Prime Minister is going to be staving off all sorts of rebellions.
So everybody can get what they want. I just want to know, what difference does it make if I've got a wind farm out in the water or in a farmer's field behind me?
Basically, this story is, since 2015, it's been enshrined in law that if one person in an area complains to the local council about an onshore wind farm, then it's off.
Well, that's guaranteed, isn't it?
Exactly.
Good.
So what they've done is they're relaxing that rule. This is what the amendments that they're talking about. They're relaxing that rule, so it takes more than that, just one person complaining. So that's the basis of this. But
So are we for or against onshore wind farms then?
I live in the centre of London, so it's not going to affect me personally. But as Chris has pointed out, this is just more electioneering, isn't it? It's like Rishi Sunak trying to keep as many Tories on side as he possibly can to get this amendment through.
Yeah.
Right, OK. Now, let's talk about this school concrete situation. And, of course, it affects civil service buildings and hospitals and police stations and all sorts of things. I put it to you that when I hear, and I'm not going to stop about this today, when I hear the Chancellor of the Exchequer, Jeremy Hunt, saying we'll spend what it takes to fix unsafe schools, he is lying.
Well, look, this has been a ticking time bomb. It's these
Could I just say something?
Yes,
we
sir.
talk about ticking time bomb. Something's bombed, something's ticked and gone off, because why have they just suddenly decided this weekend to do this? I put it to you, something has happened and we're not being told about it.
Well, it's something that's been on the back burner that has...
But you just don't, your weekend before the kids go back to school, suddenly say, oh, and incidentally, we've been working on this concrete business, so let's close 100 schools.
Yeah, but maybe what's happening is that the opposition is going to make a good old play on it, and they realise right now that over the last 30 years, when I say we, the political class, because both parties have been in power over the last 30 years, the political class have not deemed this of high enough priority. This is classic short-termism. All I'm interested in is my short term in office, and it's been kicked down the road, and now the chickens have come home to roost. Because right now, the 30-year out-of-life expense of these rack buildings has come where it is very possible that a building could collapse. Now, we're being assured that it's not that desperate at this moment in time, but these aviated programmes only got a 30-year life span, and we're at it. We're right at the zenith. So I suspect that, again, political capital can be made out of this by the opposition, bearing in mind that Blairism was there over the whole period, and austerity measures taken after the global financial crisis meant also it was kicked down the road and not looked at. Education was not, budget was held back. Where we're going to get the money from right here, right now, I've got no clue.
You're right, Chris. I mean, this isn't just the Conservative government. This has been known about since 1994. No one's done anything about it since then. We're aware, as you say, it is a ticking time bomb. And I listened to countless interviews with various ministers over the weekend trying to explain, as you point out, Eamonn, why suddenly 2 days before the kids go back to school, it's suddenly an issue. And I still have no idea what the actual answer is. It seems to be, oh, there was a new report done over the summer period and we realised it was more dangerous than we thought. It was very fudgy. No one actually has given me a straight answer yet. If someone out there listening or watching over the weekend has got the answer, let us know, because I couldn't get to the bottom of why suddenly this is an issue.
Yeah.
We've known about it since 1994. I remember sitting in schools in the 80s with bits of concrete falling off and being shifted out to prefabs because schools were dangerous back then. It's astonishing
And
that
it's
just now...
scramble, isn't it, for parents out there who have had to find childcare.
Well, exactly
for kids
that.
that are sitting at home today.
Yeah, exactly that. Suddenly, you know, and parents are worried. Is it safe? I mean, what schools need to do now, or what the government needs to do, is get structural engineers into all of these schools and reassure parents who are worried that the school in question is safe.
Yeah.
Well, and
It's a mess.
looking at there was 15,000 schools that were built with this, and at the moment we've identified 156.
Well, and they still
We haven't got the
named
full
them.
list, have we?
No,
That's
right.
still to come.
So there's a lot to be done.
Yeah.
And as has already been stated, it's not just schools, it's government buildings, military establishments,
Because it was cheap.
police stations.
It was cheap concrete at the time.
Yeah.
Let's talk, Dawn, about shoplifting.
Right.
So there's a big story about this of Tesco's over the weekend talking about the increase in this and the abuse their staff have, which is awful. It's a terrible position to be put in.
Yeah.
But I put it to you, I'm going to say something controversial now.
Uh-oh.
I think when it comes to Tesco and Sainsbury's and Waitrose and Aldi and whoever else is out there, that it is not a police problem. I think they should pay for their own security because they're making enough money out of this crisis at the moment.
There is a lot of profiteering going on in supermarkets. I completely agree with you on that one. However, is that really the fault of the actual workers on the shop floor who are facing
No, but I'm
this
just
abuse?
saying it's not my problem either. If Tesco are making, 50% profit on something or whatever, I just think there is a cost of living crisis out there. They're making enough money that they can handle the risks that go with that, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, well, I mean...
The police... Listen, there's no point saying... I heard somebody saying, where there's CCTV footage, the police have an obligation to investigate and whatever it is. Why say that when they don't have the manpower to do that?
Well, this is the problem. I mean, there's an interview in here, this is in the Metro as well, with a chap called Richard Inglis, who runs 3 Co-op stores in Hampshire. And he's been told by the local police in that area that they would only come along and investigate shoplifting theft if the value was more than £200. Well, basically, it's giving carte blanche to shoplifters to go in,
Free-for-all.
not only abuse staff, but also just walk out with, if it's less than 200 quid, you're fine, get away with it.
And for me, this is actually a much bigger, wide problem. This is a societal problem. It's not a Tesco's problem. You remember a few weeks ago there was all this Missy guy and his tribe who would run in and they would announce that they're running in, they'd kick the doors in and just run riot. Yeah. And my challenge is that this is a direct result of the defenestration of the male figure in the home, the male figure in society, where young men are releasing this unbridled power because they've never experienced the force of a man at home. 40% of families are brought up with single-parent families. It's not the fault of mum at home who's doing her best. But if you haven't got a man at home saying, no! And really raising his voice to that young kid, so the young kid understands power and authority. You've got young 14-year-olds, 18-year-olds going in there with their unbridled power, never, ever, ever. And I know this is not what we're doing these days, having a clip round the ear, the ear fell, or the dad going, no!
But Chris, everything you've shouted at, everything you've said there'll be people saying, you've just acted in an abusive way, and that is not now acceptable.
That is what I'm saying about the defenestration of the male power. You need male authority. You need to understand that with your own personal rights becomes a responsibility to be a civil citizen. And I think that young men these days have been brought up over the last 30, 40 years without the power of the male authority figure at home and at school.
Well, it's interesting you say that, but, my father was the ultimate deterrent. It never got to my father because we were always too scared of my mother. Really. So 5 boys in the house, and she was the one that laid down the law. It had to be said.
Would she shout?
Yes, of course she would shout.
She?
I mean, she would say to me, I mean, she died last November at 90, and she would say to me, "Don't you think you're too old or for me to slap you around the head?" She would say that, you know, and she would mean it. She would do it.
No, I mean, we had, and I know you can't do this now, but we had it was never used, but there was a stick in the cupboard, and like your mum would
Was
go...
it bamboo by any chance?
I think it was, yeah.
My mother used to start the school holidays. You go down to the hardware shop and get a bamboo cane.
It was never used, but the threat was there.
Ours was used.
And I think Chris is so right, though. I think there is a lack of discipline now, whether it's from your mum or your dad. But I think a strong male
male or female.
No, in particular, male. I saw a picture on the TV where these young kids were kicking the door in the Tesco's with a woman on the other side. Now, would you do that to your mother, your sister, your daughter? No, but these young kids have got absolutely no fear of kicking a door down and slapping down a woman.
So, Chris,
now, if you had... Go on.
Chris, you served, obviously, in the military. So there was a story earlier on the week about bringing national service back. Would you support that, then?
When you say national service, it doesn't have to be in the military, but certainly I do believe, again, this is of the ritual of the rite of passage. Young males in particular need a rite of passage. And so, yes, if we had 18 months where you served society, you were the authority figure, or no, you were doing the security at Tesco's. And for 18 months, you worked at minimal pay to do the security. Oh, yes, join the military, whatever.
Yeah.
But you need to serve society so that you don't kick the doors down of society when you get into your early 20s. No, men and women came before you and built this society, and you can't destroy it just like that. You need a clip round the ear, son.
All right.
Very passionate there.
You'll have a view on that at home. Do you agree with Chris? gbviews@gbnews.com.
It doesn't matter if you agree or not.
Or disagree. Everyone's welcome.
No. The point is, it's all talk again. It's all smoke and mirrors. There are not the police authorities there to implement fines. The court system's bunged up. There's not enough police officers there to do it. So why pretend they're going to investigate everything? They're not going to investigate everything. So there has to be another way of looking at this. I don't know what way that is, whether it's private security firms or...
But what are they going to do, Eamonn? So if a bunch of youths come into there, are you going to shoot them? No. So what are you going to do with these young kids right now who do not respect authority?
Yeah, but you could have, what am I trying to say, guards at there. For instance, a private company can slap you with a fine for parking your car in the wrong place, right? So why can't a private company slap you for shoplifting out of Tesco?
Because, Eamonn, you and I, if the authority figure says you're going to pay your fine, you'll pay your fine because you've been
brought up that way.
Correct.
Exactly.
But this young kid who is 18 doesn't give a flying feces about your authority figure. So if you are a guard, he's going to come in and try and slap you. And if you grab hold of him and you hurt his little finger, you're the one who's going to get done, not that kid. You've just undue force and attention on that kid. So this is the problem. That's what I'm trying to say, is that actually he... and some of the she's have never experienced that finger. Oh, OK, yes, sorry, sir. I would never, ever shout at a policeman. I would never, authority was important to me growing up. These young kids have got no sense of authority and their role in society.
Yeah.
OK, Dawn and Chris, let's talk about this story in the Daily Express. We've been talking about it this morning. As poor pupil hygiene is set to get worse this year. There's going to be more smelly kids at school. I find this quite sad.
Come on. This story I find very, very annoying.
Why?
Well, because you don't need to be rich to have a wash or clean your teeth.
Correct.
Good old-fashioned soap and water.
Correct.
Does the trick. This is poor parenting.
Correct.
Nothing more, and the kids are the ones that are suffering.
Yeah. We agree with that.
Yeah, well,
totally.
I agree. I agree with you. However, there is a challenge with the energy costs, and so, you might risk. OK, I won't wash his PE shirt today. I'm going to do it Thursday and Monday, and so on a Wednesday it's a little bit whiffy. And the kid's got to bear the
hand wash it in the sink. I'm sorry, in cold water. There's no excuses. I mean,
Teach the kids to do it themselves.
Well, yeah, we were brought up in a working class household, and I bang on about this all the time. And you were brought up to be hygienic, you would hand wash stuff in the sink. You wouldn't use a washing machine if you couldn't afford to, the air and the electricity. You'd hand wash it yourself.
The same when I was growing up was that cleanliness is next to godliness.
Yeah. And plus, with this story, it's not the teacher's responsibility to wash kids' PE kit.
No, but what do you do?
Or teach them how to...
children.
Yeah, or wash children, or teach them how to clean teeth. They're there to teach them maths and English. It's parents.
So what do you do when there's smelly kids in the classroom and they're protected characteristic? You can't say, you are a smelly kid, because you can't do that either. You cannot say to the smelly kid, you are a smelly kid.
No, you would... No, I'd phrase
Can
it
you?
slightly better, Chris. Just slightly better.
But how do you phrase it?
I
though?
would
How do
probably
you...
talk to the parents, because it's not the child's fault.
No, but in the meantime, you've got a smelly kid in the classroom who it's not his fault, and all of the children are sort of stepping back from him or her. How do you support that child's mental health and wellness in the classroom when it's not her fault? It's his fault.
Here's ways of dealing with things. Thanks very much, folks, for getting in touch and sharing your smelly remedies. Wendy, I had a boss that stank of body odour.
Oh, no.
Finally, one of my colleagues rang the smelly guy's wife, and she dealt with it. He never stank again.
How is the wife not picking up on it, though?
Because she would be so embarrassed that he represents her and her family that she's saying, you're never going out like that again.
Well, it's a good way around it, I think. Tell the wife. Tell the husband.
George says it's because people are struggling with energy costs to put on washing machines and they can't afford going to the laundromat outside.
That was my point. That was my point.
Yeah, but don't say it's not an excuse.
Just hand wash it in the sink. I'm sorry, what is wrong with that?
To be fair, though, my washing machine broke a few weeks ago. I had to go to the... What do we call them here? It's not a laundromat. What
Washing machine. Laundrettes.
Laundrette, that's
Sorry.
it, laundrette.
Monday morning.
And it was £7.50 for a wash.
Yeah.
So if you have a dark wash and a light wash, it was 15 quid.
But we're not talking about sheets and towels and stuff here, are we? We're talking about kids' PE kits and things like that.
But also, there's a growing amount. I think if you're a smelly kid, you're a smelly adult as well.
Oh, really?
Exactly.
Then says, I had a work colleague who wore the same suit day in, day out, week in, week out, year in. You're getting the idea here. We told him to get it cleaned. He was definitely smelly.
What is wrong with people?
Christina, there were two smelly people in my year, a girl who I made friends with and me. She came from a better off and educated family and I was brought up in poverty. She used to share her snacks with me, was very kind and very intelligent. We would sit next to each other smelling in class, but nobody else came near us. She and I were bullied and got beaten up occasionally, but things turned out okay by the time I left school and found a job. I love cleaning, being clean, but to this day look a scruff at most times because I'm always cleaning and tidying up. But at least you put it right. At least you put it right.
So Christina was smelly child
and has
now
grown up to
be very clean.
Have an obsession with cleanliness.
Yeah. Maybe that's the way it goes, though. Maybe it's
Do they teach health and hygiene in school still?
Well, the sort of thing they should teach.
Well, that's what...
I mean, Dawn, could I just... Before I even... and Chris applies to this as well. You're the sort of people, before I even see, I know you look fragrant. And then you come in and you... And doesn't she smell fragrant today?
Smell lovely.
Smell lovely. Smell lovely.
Well, Chris...
As for you, Ellie... Anyway.
Oh, no! Lies!
Lies. They were lies.
It smells beautiful.
That was lies.
Flower.
Lies. Let's go to the break. We're back talking about schools collapsing after the weather update. Here we go.